everybody. Welcome to the Monday morning meeting. We are going to get started here. Welcome everybody to JD's Realty and Auction. This morning we're going to do our class on something fun again, Nintendo. We're going to do a history of electronic gaming with Nintendo. So, history of Nintendo worldwide. Nintendo, as we know it today, has its roots in a history that goes back much farther than most might think. The foundation of the company lies in the production of playing cards way back in 1889. Fusajiro Yamauchi began manufacturing Hanafuda, or flower cards, Japanese-style playing cards in Kyoto, Japan. In 1902, Mr. Yamauchi began manufacturing the first Western-style playing cards in Japan. Originally intended for export, these playing cards quickly became popular in Japan. So, Yamauchi Nintendo and Company. In 1933, the company was established as an unlimited partnership. In 1947, Mr. Yamaguchi began a distribution company called Marafuku Company Limited. By 1951, the company's name had changed to Nintendo Playing Card Company. And in 1959, the company started producing and selling cards with Walt Disney characters, opening up a new market in children's playing cards, resulting in a boom in the card department. The 1960s saw a rise in bowling as a major popular pastime in Japan. With Japan's post-war fascination with American culture and pastimes growing, the sport of bowling became increasingly popular, with Japan topping out with about 3,700 bowling alleys at the height of the craze in the late 60s. Nintendo jumped on this frenzy and produced an at-home bowling game that promised the feel of a full-size alley right in your home, with a lifelike mechanical bowler, ball return, and a semi-automatic pen setter. The box design, with its Western-style figures and English text, suit the Japanese perception of the classic American pastime. By 1973, the popularity of bowling was waning, and to repurpose those now abandoned bowling alleys, Nintendo developed the laser clay shooting system, designed specifically for repurposing bowling lanes, giving them a new lease on life. And here are just some fantastic images of the geisha bowling, because who can't resist that? And then an image of the clay shooting ranges. It's obviously the promotional image that they use, but it gives you an idea of how they turned a bowling alley into a clay shooting range. So Nintendo's first electronic games. In 1974, Nintendo developed an image projection system and utilized the 16-millimeter film projector in amusement arcades and began exporting the system to the U.S. and Europe. In cooperation with Mitsubishi Electric in 1975, saw the development of a video game system using an electronic video recording player for the Japanese market. By 1976, Nintendo had introduced a microprocessor to the system, and by 1977, the company had developed home-use video game systems called TV Game 15 and TV Game 6. In March of 1978, Nintendo released a simplistic arcade cocktail game based on the board game Othello, called Computer Othello. Very original. With no joystick, players were left to move game pieces around using a series of 10 colored buttons. In 1979, Minoru Arakawa, son-in-law of Nintendo's Japanese chief Hiroshi Yamauchi, opened Nintendo of America in New York City and started an operations division for coin-operated games. These are what those original Nintendo at-home entertainment games look like. If you come across these, of course, they are very collectible. So the birth of Mario. The company created a wholly owned subsidiary, Nintendo of America, in New York. Nintendo began selling the Game & Watch product line in Japan, the first portable LCD video games with a microprocessor. Nintendo artist Shigeru Miyamoto created the game Donkey Kong. The hero, originally called Jumpman, is a carpenter racing to save his girlfriend Pauline from a crazed ape. Jumpman was later renamed during the establishment of Nintendo's America's headquarters by Nintendo Company Limited in honor of Jumpman's resemblance to their office landlord, Mario Segali. He was later renamed Mario. Donkey Kong and NES. In 1981, Nintendo developed and distributed the coin-operated game Donkey Kong, quickly becoming the hottest-selling coin-op game in the business. By 1984, Nintendo launched worldwide what would later become known as Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. Classic hits like Super Mario Bros., Excitebike, Meteoroid, and The Legend of Zelda were released. The Game Boy was released in 1989 and was the first portable handheld game system with interchangeable cartridges. By the year 2000, the Game Boy had become the most popular selling console ever as sales surpassed 100 million. So here are some valuable Nintendo collectibles. There are vintage gaming systems, of course, original, antique, and vintage Nintendo playing cards, Nintendo at-home games such as the Bowling and Twister, and original vintage game cartridges, especially Donkey Kong and The Legend of Zelda, and of course those original consoles that I showed you guys, the Nintendo TV Game 15 and the TV Game 6, and the Game & Watch, the early predecessor to the Game Boy. And of course, if you can find the very first Game Boy still new in box, those fetch quite a penny as well. So that's a little Nintendo history. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.